Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo. How was your Super Bowl weekend? Mine was wild. It was a big one on the north side of Fargo. Let's talk about it. Hot Mic starts now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay. Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Yeah, what you heard is right. North Dakota State is heading to the Mountain West Football Conference. Confirmed yesterday by WDAY Sports and North Dakota State Athletic Director Matt Larson. The Bison will be leaving the FCS for the big boy division of FBS and the Mountain West Conference for this fall, the 2026 season. Sources indicate there will be a press conference coming up later today at 2 o'clock. An official announcement is expected at 10 a.m. this morning that North Dakota State will become the 10th football member of the Mountain West, leaving the FCS, which they moved up from the Division II ranks in 2004 to become a member of the Great West Conference, which they were there for 4 seasons, and then moved into the Missouri Valley Football Conference, where they've been since 2008. NDSU has won 10 FCS championships over the last 15 years, just finished up an unbeaten regular season in 2025, and now, as they like to say, taking their talents to the FBS, which will begin, as I said, this fall. And with that, we say good morning and welcome to Hot Mic on a day that there are sports shows all over this country. And we are going to be the only one, I'm going to tell you that right now, that is not leading with the Super Bowl. And that's crazy considering there are 2 North Dakota State Bison that won Super Bowl rings last night. I can guarantee you we are going to be the only ones doing that today. But that is the enormity of what has transpired here over the last, I'd say, 60 hours. And I will try and unpack it as best we can. We're going to have our usual Monday lineup of guests. And feel free, send the texts, emails, questions you've got. We will try and unpack and get all the answers that we can as of now. As I mentioned, the official announcement is expected this morning at 10 a.m. with a press conference to come later today that we'll cover that here on WDAY Extra, Inforum, WDAY Plus, all your usual outlets that you're expecting to get the information. We will have that for you coming up later today. So let's start with the nuts and bolts of this. Friday night, Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports broke the story that NDSU and the Mountain West were in, quote, serious discussions about a potential invite to the Mountain West Conference. That's how this all began. We were able to independently confirm that those discussions were being had. Now, that may not have been the earth-shaking part of it, at least for me. The earth-shaking part of it was for this fall. As in 6 months from now, we're playing football games, and this is going to happen this season for the 2026 campaign. Not a year and a half from now, like Missouri State and Delaware had their run-ups. We remember that in 2024 when they announced they were leaving, and each of them were lame ducks for the postseason for each of those years to get up to their scholarship amount, and then this year they jumped in with 2 feet into FBS football, respectively, in Conference USA. That is not happening with the Bison this fall. That was, I think, the shocking part of it. So after that, that's Friday night at about 9:03, I want to say, is when my phone first started rattling that this was going to happen. Saturday was a bizarre day. Obviously, North Dakota State men's basketball had its game with Omaha. Not necessarily a small game there, but we knew all the pertinence that we wanted to talk to were going to be there. Matt Larson, NDSU athletic director, was flying back from Florida. I contacted him Friday night. We got a no comment out of Matt. Tim Polasek, I knew was going to be at the basketball game. Tim normally is the most gregarious guy that there is, always willing to chat. I got 3 words out of him Saturday. So if the radar wasn't off then, it certainly was after that point. Then comes the part that Dave Cook is his last days at the university. He gets honored. I know Mike McFeely attempted to talk to President Cook. We got nothing there. So, to me, silence spoke volumes. Also, NDSU put out a statement on Saturday morning that I thought was telling, because they acknowledged what was going on, and to the point that they knew there was something being discussed, obviously, but didn't deny it. That was the part also to take out of this that was intriguing. They said NDSU is regularly, and this is the only statement NDSU's made publicly in this whole time, was Saturday morning, 11 a.m., that North Dakota State is regularly involved in conference affiliation conversation. We're aware of media reports and have no further comments. That was on Saturday at 11 a.m. And as we sit here at Monday morning at 9:06 a.m., that is all that the university has said, outside of Matt Larson confirming the story yesterday that NDSU has accepted an invitation to the Mountain West Conference. And we've got a little bit of the pertinence on that that we'll share here in a second. And then, obviously, yesterday, I had heard that and reported Saturday night that a team meeting was called for Monday morning. It was supposed to be today at 7 a.m. Again, once I heard that, like, okay, the ball is rolling here, that momentum is going in a direction where this is going to be announced as we're on the air or pretty darn soon after it. Then got wind that they moved the meeting to yesterday in anticipating that likely story may leak. And, of course, that's ended up what happening. The team met with all the pertinence yesterday afternoon and became aware that this is now reality and will become official later this morning. The money is no joke here, folks. We can confirm NDSU will pay $12.5 million to enter the Mountain West Conference. That was the rate to get in. That is separate from the $5 million that NDSU will have to pay the NCAA to move from FCS to FBS. That is flat out. So $17.5 million is what NDSU is going to have to pay to make this happen. That is non-negotiable. That was negotiated as part of the story that Ross Dellinger broke on Friday, is the supposed haggling about how much it was going to be. I believe actually that's lower than what was initially thrown out there. Still a lot of money, which people are losing their minds on, and that's fine. We can get to that in due time. So that part is settled. Now, what do you need to know on this? Well, you need to know that FCS football is no longer relevant to us in Fargo, North Dakota. Not saying it's not important, but I'm telling you now, those that are used to FCS playoffs, Selection Sunday, all of that is donezo. It is not happening. What is happening now is NDSU has to find 4 non-conference games also on, it's February 9th. Like, people's schedules are done. What I can report on that, because I know I've had a bunch of people asking me there, that NDSU's hoping to keep one of its 2 FCS home games on the schedule. For 2026, the Bison are slated to play East Tennessee State. That was the home opener on September the 5th. And then September the 19th is Austin Peay. One of those 2 games, and I'm told it's likely East Tennessee State, they'd like to have on, because ETSU is the back end of the home and home. Remember, the Bison went to Johnson City, the crazy comeback game in 2024. They would like to have that as the bounce back there. Incarnate Word game, if everyone was planning for San Antonio, not happening. Central Arkansas, going there, not happening. I would imagine Austin P, not happening. Now, this is interesting as well. The Mountain West Conference has not announced its 2026 schedule. I think, again, we talked about it when the media rights deal came out last week, I want to say, on the conference, that there were some raised eyebrows, like, they hadn't put out their deal yet and their schedule yet after they got their media deal rights, and potentially we now know why that was being discussed. We are hopeful as well to speak with Gloria Navarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, to get some of the more pertinent details that only she can provide on the other side of this, on the league side, on what was going down. Now, for those that have no idea, today is going to be all about informing our viewers, listeners, on what FBS football is, and certainly what the Mountain West Conference is. Our great producer, Eric Bedell, has had numerous time to get different conference maps ready in case the D-Day came. D-Day is here, so we can show you. This is the Mountain West map. This is what the league will look like starting in 2026. Heck, in July. July 1, this will become official. That North Dakota State will be in the same league with Northern Illinois, NIU. You remember, we were all up in arms about that last fall when NIU got the football-only invite out of DeKalb, leaving the MAC to go to the Mountain West. Suddenly, that becomes one of North Dakota State's closest rivals. The University of Texas, El Paso, is in this league. They also are joining on July 1 as a full member of the Mountain West. That will happen July 1. University of New Mexico, located in Albuquerque, is a member of this conference. They are led by former South Dakota State offensive coordinator Jason Eck. Bison fans will remember Coach Eck quite well, who was a thorn in the side of the Bison for a couple of years, including that crazy 2016 game that the Jackrabbits won in Fargo. The Air Force Academy, located in Colorado Springs. That's one of the premier schools that's staying in this conference. The University of Wyoming, where Craig Bohl and Tim Polisic both coached in Laramie, is part of this league. The University of Nevada, Las Vegas is there. Yeah, UNLV. We talked about this 2 years ago, folks, when the Mountain West was trying to stave off the Pac-12. UNLV and Air Force were the two biggies that the Pac-12 wanted. They stayed. So I can sit here and tell you now that either UNLV will play a game at the Fargo Dome or the Bison are going to Vegas to play a game this fall. Again, just trying to wrap my mind around that. Also, University of Nevada is in the league in Reno. San Jose State is in this conference, where Tim Miles is the men's basketball coach. And then finally, the University of Hawaii is now a full member come July 1. The Rainbow Warriors, as they used to be called, were just a football-only member. That changes come July 1. Those are the schools. That's where they're located. The league has made it known that they are going to play 8 conference games every year. So the Bison will have a mix of 4 of these teams in Fargo, and they will go to 4 of these locations. That's their league schedule, and then it will have to fill 4 non-conference games, which how they're going to do that on Feb 9 is awfully interesting. Teams always need games, but this is going to be a heck of a task to try. But granted, they just pulled off something that many of us never thought that would have happened is actually happened, is now a reality. So that's the pertinence here on what the league is, where it's located. And I already got a bunch of comments saying, boy, that's a lot of travel. And that's well, NDSU flies everywhere to begin with, folks. outside of trips to Vermilion, Brookings, and Grand Forks, the Bison fly to Youngstown. They fly to Carbondale. They fly to Terre Haute. They flew to Murray, Kentucky. You name it, that's Macomb, Illinois in the old days. That's where they travel. Normal, Illinois, they fly. That's part of the deal. So plane trip is a plane trip. Now, you might be on it a little bit longer to go to Albuquerque or to Honolulu. How that works is in the weeds. In the old Mountain West, this is what Bowl and Polisic both told me, it's once every 4 years was the rotation that you go to Hawaii. So those that are trying to book flights now, I don't know if that's appropriate yet, but something to keep your eyes peeled on that. So that's the nuts and bolts of the league. Now on the flip side of this, because I get there are going to be a contingent, and I've already heard from them. Our Kenzie Eiserman interviewed some fans at the basketball game Saturday that were hoping that South Dakota State, that University of North Dakota would be part of this. They are not. This is a one-off for the league. I can confirm that of who they were going to invite, and it is a massive change. The Bison went with South Dakota State to the Division I level. This is them going on their own, that they believe they can do it. And if you've heard anything from the national collegiate media that covers this, which is exciting now that NDSU's part of that, brethren, if that makes sense as well, that they have all the confidence in the world that NDSU can go into this league and compete. Now, financially, scholarships are going to change. At the FCS level, even under the House settlement, you were allowed to fund 63 equivalencies, as they call it. At the FBS level, that goes to 85. And to me, that's a question that needs answering at the press conference coming later today, is because of gender equity in Title IX. What does NDSU do on the women's side of that? Do they, they're already, I think, fully funded in basketball. They fund softball and volleyball, golf, track. Do they add a women's sport? Is that part of this? Because there has to be the gender equity part of this that comes into it. And there's some other schools that have moved up in recent years from Sanford, Houston State. Jacksonville State, I believe, launched bowling and became national champion in women's bowling because they moved up and had to have the requisite amount of scholarships. That was part of it. So that's one of the many questions that'll be, at least I'll have, if it doesn't get asked by somebody else coming later today. Just honestly, you have to sit here and just take a minute to say, this is actually happening. And the cutoff of this is so abrupt. Like, there's not going to be another Dakota Marker game for a while. That part of me is sad. I will not lie. The Dakota Marker game has become a big deal. And to not have that will be jarring. It really will. And to see that go, because that became something. You want to talk about when the Division I era began and it was totally made up, right? The Dakota Marker was a thing that those two schools decided to do together, and now it's definitely on the back burner, right? The game with North Dakota certainly took on a different tone over the last couple of years, especially after UND won in Grand Forks a couple years ago. That is back in the back burner again. And it was fun for a couple years, and I'm sure for a lot of folks that harken them back to the days of the late 80s and 90s when it was Roger and Rocky. How many times have I said this, folks? It's 2026. And the last thing I'll say in this, and we'll set up the show because we got a lot to get to today, that those upset, well, the Bison are never going to win a championship anymore, right? I already got at least 50 of those over the last 3 days. I would point out this to you. The Mountain West has several bowl tie-ins. For those of you that long to go back to Frisco, Texas, guess what? The Mountain West has a tie-in with Frisco, the Frisco Bowl there. This past year, UNLV played at the Star, as Toyota Stadium obviously is going. So if you want to go back to Frisco, the Bison could potentially do that. And by the way, they could also go to these bowls. Yeah, you see the Idaho Potato Bowl. Okay. Go play on the blue turf. Not the worst thing ever. Go to Albuquerque. Go to Fort Worth. Go to Honolulu. Go to Tucson. I mean, Matt Entz and Fresno State were just hanging out with freaking Snoop Dogg at the Arizona Bowl in Tucson. I don't know. That might be better than another FCS playoff game where there's 9,000 people at the Dome and they're playing Mercer and nobody gives a rip, right? And here's the other part of this on the playoff part. Because, by the way, if NDSU gets to 6 wins, which I think is a probably good bet, and there's not enough bowl-eligible teams, you saw Missouri State and Delaware, NDSU could be playing a bowl game come December of 2026, as in 10 months from now. Okay? You don't think Bison fans are going to travel for that? Because I do. And when the probationary period is done, come 2028, NDSU will be eligible for the college football playoff, whatever that looks like in 2028. Right? For this upcoming year, we know it's going to be 12 teams, and the Bison aren't eligible for it as is. But everybody watched James Madison play Oregon in the college football playoff, right? Are people that forget that NDSU beat James Madison 3 separate times, including in a semifinal game here before they went to the FBS? I mean, that's what we're talking about, folks, that NDSU could play a game with Alabama now. And I'll get to the scheduling part because you know how much of a nerd on that, but that's the whole offshoot of this as well. So many things. Honestly, we got 6 months of stories here. I mean, there's other things, obviously, we're going to talk about, but this is the biggest sports story that's happened here since NDSU went Division I. I've been here 20 years. You got to tell me something bigger than this. Right? The Division I move happened 3 years before I got here. So I've been here since September of 2006. Tell me a bigger sports story than what is happening today. I'm waiting. You tell me. I've covered some biggies. This is the biggest. And we're going to cover it appropriately so today, tomorrow, the next day, and the months to come and leading up to NDSU's first FBS game. Our guest lineup today is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. As I mentioned, we'll do our usual Monday guest lineup. Sam Herder will join us at 9:35. Sam will give us the FCS reaction from this. Obviously, this is a huge deal in the FCS division. The pillar, the kings of the FCS are gone. What does that mean? Especially, it's February. The Valley's going to have to react to this. The Valley's going to be down to 9 teams with NDSU gone. What does that mean for South Dakota State, for Illinois State, for Montana State? We'll discuss that with Sam at 9:35. My colleague Jeff Kolpack will be here at 10 o'clock. Jeffrey has been on the clock with this, as I and McFeely have been since about 9:03 on Friday night. We'll have Jeff for almost the full hour here. As I mentioned, we're anticipating the official release to come out today at 10 and discuss everything from that and where NDSU goes from here. A lot of money. Where's it coming from? All of that we'll try and unpack. We've got an hour and 37 minutes to do that. So that was quite the opening segment, but it's quite a day here, folks. We'll take our first break. We come back. Yeah, there was a game last night. We'll do a recap of Super Bowl 60. Got all your emails, questions, texts coming in. So glad you're joining us. Hot Mic returns on a Monday morning on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I appreciate all the comments. We have some issues with our stream going on. We're available on WDAY Plus for those that go through Inforum.com. WDAY Plus, we're up there now, but something up with our website. So streaming us on our app. If you watch us on TV every day, we're on Extra there. So hopefully we can get that rectified ASAP. We got some great questions coming in. Just got it confirmed as well. I'll be visiting with Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Navarez later today. We'll play that conversation on the show tomorrow. So look forward to that because there's about 8 million questions we have for that. We'll briefly, let's do this because we only have a short amount of time. The Super Bowl was last night. And I'll say this is my How many? Let's say 37th I can remember, 38th. I saw plenty of blowouts in the 90s. I mean, the NFC would routinely destroy the AFC from 1989 through Elway's Super Bowl over the Packers, 1998. The NFC won every game, and they weren't even close outside of the Bills-Giants in Super Bowl 25. So the fact now that we've gotten back-to-back boat races just harkens me back to when I was a kid, because last night, Seattle laid the wood to the New England Patriots, and a game that frankly didn't have hopefully some of the theatrics or excitement that the championship games did, because those were entertaining. This one did not. Kenneth Walker III became a household name last night. Anytime the Seahawks want to do that stretch zone play, which our offensive linemen have ran that quite well at North Dakota State, one Jalen Sundell or Gray Zabel, they were ready to go. 2 big runs there. All we had were field goals, though, through the first quarter plus. Drake May had a rough day. The standout quarterback out of the University of North Carolina, his offensive line got wrecked by that Seahawks defensive line because they were sensational. It's 9-0. It's all Jason Myers field goals. Here's another little screen. Walker gets loose. That goes for 22. Guess what? Set up another field goal. It's 12-0. We still don't have a touchdown in this game. Took my breath away. We didn't have any touchdowns. Then they get a May fumble, who did that so many times this season. He put the ball on the ground. That is a tremendous punch out. Seahawks get the ball back. Finally, we get a touchdown. And finally, I can say my line. Why can't the Jets find quarterbacks like Sam Darnold? To A.J. Barner, touchdown. It's 19-0. Then we get another touchdown. Hey, Drake May to Mac Hollins, 35 yards. Makes it a 19-7 score. At that point, hey, maybe we have a game going. Couple of punts. May make some pay here. I don't know why they didn't do this more. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he decided to use his legs. That went for 20-some-odd yards, but then this is horrendous. I don't know where this is going. That's intercepted. Julian Love right over the middle of the field. Put the Seahawks in business. By the way, they kick another field goal out of this drive. Again, because Walker was able to set up his blocks. Goes down the sideline. Myers sets a Super Bowl record with his 5th made field goal. This from 26 yards out. That made it 22-7 with 5.5 minutes to go, which basically, the way the Patriots are playing offensively, meant the game was done. But there was one last play. How about a little pick six? Uchenna Nwasu, 45 yards after it got blown up by Devin Witherspoon. How many times did Drew Trafton talk to us about Witherspoon that they got in the first? I think they got him from the Jets, by the way, in the Jets trade. Thank you very much on that one. Seahawks dominate and win a second Super Bowl championship, 29-13 over New England. Their first championship since Super Bowl 48, when again their defense dominated the Denver Broncos in that game. They did it to New England. Drake May had a rough day yesterday. Obviously, the pick six, had 2 interceptions. The Seahawks just dominated defensively when they get up 6 sacks. They actually took a sack away because it ended up being an interception return. Just a dominant performance from Seattle. Shout out to our guys, to Gray Zabel and to Jalen Sundell. Become the 7th and 8th former Bison to win Super Bowl rings as players. For Zabel, he joins an ultra-exclusive list, becomes the 14th college and pro football player to win a college national championship, and then the very next year wins a Super Bowl championship. Tony Dorsett was the first to do that back in 1977, won a national champ at Pitt. The next year won the Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. What do you think about that for Zabel? Going back to August of 2024, he's been playing football nonstop. Won the national championship with the Bison, goes through the whole draft process, becomes a fan favorite with the Seahawks as a first-round pick. Then he goes and starts every game this year for Seattle, all 20 games at left guard, and wins a Super Bowl. Other than that, nothing much happened to him. As I mentioned, for Sundell, guy nearly quit football, was driving Ubers, as his parents told us on Friday's show. He's now a Super Bowl champion. Awesome stuff there. Hopefully we can have those guys on the show in the not-too-distant future. They're going to celebrate today. Party in Seattle coming later this week. All right, let's get back on schedule here. We'll break. Sam Herder coming up other side of the break on the Bison impact of them leaving FCS. What does that mean? We'll discuss that when Hot Mike returns here on this Monday morning. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. I'm told our Hot Mic stream is up and going on Inforum.com. Appreciate everybody that reaching out. I love the fact that many people watch. We're on now, and perfect time for our first guest. You just missed me blathering for half an hour, so that's all right. What's new, as people say. Our guy Sam Herder joins us each and every Monday at 9:35 to give us the lowdown on everything going on in the FCS. Nothing happening over the last few days from what I can tell, right? All quiet?
Yeah, I mean, what a Friday night news dump, right? First reported by Yahoo Sports of NDSU going FBS, and overshadows a little bit of the Travis Johansson news, and that a day before that it was the Bobby Houck news, and sprinkled in there was Sac State also trying to buy its way into the FBS. So usually February is pretty slow in the FCS world, but what a newsy week last week.
So let's first start on the Bison angle of leaving the FCS. In your mind, what does this do for the subdivision now that NDSU is gone?
Yeah, I think it's definitely nuanced, right? There are the obvious negatives of the Bison moving on. That was the top brand. It took Bobby Houck within 4 minutes of his press conference to mention NDSU and say they are the gold standard in the FCS, and just the attention that NDSU brings, the draft picks that they have, that brings attention to NDSU in the FCS, and just the brand recognition. If you lose that, or now that the FCS is losing that hurts. It weakens the overall strength of the subdivision, no doubt. No one in the FCS national media is denying that the FCS has been watered down, now compared to the mid 2010s. That's just the reality of where the FCS is at right now. But I do think it comes with pros, and I think you can kind of point to the 2025 playoff bracket as a sign of, the FCS playoffs, if anything, maybe get more exciting and more intriguing and more fresh without NDSU in it, because after the Bison exited early, we saw the TV viewership in the quarterfinals and the semifinals go up. It was the most viewed quarterfinals and the semifinals, in the FCS for several years. The championship game dipped down a little bit, 100,000 less viewers, but still, really good TV numbers. And just the overall FCS intrigue with that national title race was probably more intriguing in 2025 compared to past years, just because, hey, there's going to be a new national champion, and Illinois State got into that mix, and Tarleton State got into that conversation as well. So I think that's the pro side of it. It opens the door for new storylines. It makes things more fresh. It brings in more FCS fans that are engaged with the national title storylines, because they now have a bigger opening. So I think there are pros with it. Certainly there are cons with it as well. In my personal opinion, I think the pros outweigh the cons. I think overall this is good for the FCS, but that doesn't mean that it's all good for the FCS. There are some pretty big negatives to this from an FCS perspective.
If you're South Dakota State this morning, Sam, how you feeling?
Yeah, I think I tweeted this too. The FBS want for South Dakota State now increases, in my opinion. I've seen, and I'll throw Montana State into this as well, because I've seen a lot of their fans say, now, before we didn't really want to go FBS, well, now we kind of want to now. And there still are a portion, a decent portion of all three of those fan bases that said, no, we can't afford $17 million to get into the FBS, and we still like the FCS playoffs, so we're fine with where we're at. But no doubt when you see, NDSU move up, that's going to want, other teams in that region to also want to move up. And, I'm sure in the background, the administrators are talking about it for all three of those schools, and, doing some things behind the scenes to at least, if that call ever comes, maybe they're getting themselves prepared to make that jump. I don't know if that call is coming anytime soon, but you never know with realignment. So yeah, I think for South Dakota State fans, they're bummed about it. I think there's a portion of Montana State fans that are bummed about it, a portion of UND fans that are bummed about it. But I also think there's a decent amount of fan bases, not just those four, but other fan bases that are saying like, hey, good, about time. The Bison are out of the way, and now there is no longer that hurdle for us to clear of getting past NDSU.
Yeah, there's a pathway there, which we can get to in later weeks. I think today the immediacy is Sam. It's happening now. Like we've talked about this when you've been on the show. Missouri State and Delaware had total run up. They had a 15-month run up, but we also knew that they were ineligible for the postseason. And from what the sources I've told, NDSU did not want any part of being a lame duck FCS team. If they were going to make the jump, they wanted to do it now. And I think that's important to understand as well, that there wasn't going to be a swan song here. They didn't want to go into 2026 and not be postseason eligible.
Yeah, I think as that Friday night news hit and everyone's kind of dissecting it, initially it was like, all right, about time, like it's happening. NDSU is going to the FBS. And then it was, oh, it's football only. Like what a perfect scenario for NDSU, because you keep all the other sports besides wrestling. I believe wrestling in the Summit League, you save on travel costs there. And then you go, oh, it's for 2026. Like that is an immediate turnaround. And we saw James Madison do that, join the FBS right away. This is, a much shorter window for NDSU to get it done. But I think I would prefer it this way because from an FCS perspective, I was high on NDSU going into 2026. Probably would have been preseason number 2. The Bison have a decent amount of question marks on their 2 deep going into the 26 season, but we know how the Bison reload. So I was high on NDSU going into 26, and it just frankly would have been annoying if NDSU was playoff ineligible in 26. They're 8-0, and then we have the discussion of, well, who's better, NDSU or Montana State, who's also undefeated? We're not going to know because the Bison can't play in the playoffs. They can't be ranked in the polls because they're ineligible. So we don't have to worry about that. The Bison are jumping into, the big pool right away. And I think timing-wise, I'm sure it's hectic on the back end for the Mountain West and NDSU. But I think since they can make it work, I think it's better off doing it right away than kind of having that, like you said, that lame duck year. That's always kind of awkward during the transition.
Well, we talked about it with Mo State that year in 2024. Mo State, I believe, won 8 football games. They would have been a postseason team. They were 8-4 in 2024 and didn't get to go to the playoffs. I don't know if they would have won a game. Who knows? But you're completely right on that. Annoying is the perfect word for it, because I could just get a sense if we got to October and the Bison are humming and they're getting ready to play the Jackrabbits and maybe they beat SDSU. Like, what are we doing? And I am glad that that's not going to be a concern for this upcoming fall. I will ask you this, and this is an impossible question to answer, so I apologize. Do we see an SDSU game anytime soon? I don't know if we do. NDSU-SDSU football game.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, unfortunately, because it was such a great rivalry game. And, I mean, UC Davis, Sac State isn't going to happen anymore because Sac State has moved out of the Big Sky. And, SFA, Sam Houston, that hasn't, that's not going to be happening anymore because Sam Houston has moved to the FBS. So I don't foresee future Dakota Marker games because, I don't think it's worth it for either of the schools, because if you were South Dakota State, you would have to go to NDSU.
Correct.
If you're NDSU, you would have to pay South Dakota State, a hefty fee to come to the Fargo Dome. And if you're NDSU, you run the risk of losing that game. And if you're an FBS team, you don't want to lose to an FCS team. So I don't see it that being on the schedule. Hopefully they can make something work. I would love to see it, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. The Vegas game between Montana State and NDSU in 27, right? I saw Victor Flores from Montana, Montana State beat writer. He got the contract and said no matter, conference realignment, subdivision affiliation, that game is still contractually obligated to happen. So we'll see if there are any buyouts to that, or they do make it happen. That'd be a phenomenal game, even if it is NDSU versus or FBS versus FCS. So I don't Dakota marker-wise, I don't think there's a future for that as of right now.
All right, let me do this to end our conversation here. I'm going to have you take your reporter hat off and put your NDSU alum hat on. As an alum, how do you feel about this move?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because I've always viewed NDSU, from a more of a neutral perspective, which is, as I cover as I cover FCS nationally, and NDSU keeps on winning, like and I'm further removed, like I graduated more than 10 years ago, so it's easier for me to just cover them as a neutral observer rather than as an alum. So I think it's maybe bittersweet. Bitter in the fact that I've covered NDSU for 13 years, something like that. And, as of now, that coverage is coming to an end, unless us also invites South Dakota State or the Montana schools, and then probably would be worth it for me to cover the Mountain West and the FCS, if that were to happen. But if it's just NDSU, like it seems like it is, probably won't be following NDSU football, anymore. So that part of it is kind of bitter because there's, a lot of great memories covering NDSU and a lot of good relationships, both NDSU media and also just, folks in the NDSU athletic department. Ryan Peralt has always been really great working with me. So that part of it is bitter, but I also kind of talked about the pros, FCS wise, of like this kind of opens the door for newer storylines. So folks that listen to me enough know I'm always kind of there's pros and there's cons, like there's both sides to things. So I would say probably bittersweet is the best way to describe it.
Let's end on a non-NDSU note. You mentioned, I thought the biggest thing we're going to talk about in our segment today was Travis Johansson leaving on Feb 6 to take the Rutgers defensive coordinator job. Johansson was just the head coach for 1 year at USD. What do we make of this move and USD having to pivot on, much like Montana, on early Feb after signing day to now have a new head coach?
Yeah, it's just not great timing because this opens up a new 15-day portal window for both Montana and South Dakota. Those players to potentially enter the portal. We're also into February now, and so it's kind of difficult to, like, school and academic wise to enter the transfer portal and find a new school. So definitely surprised by the Montana news and the South Dakota news. It's tough for the Yotes because they had such great stability under Bob Nielsen. He retires, makes way for Travis Johansson. I was always really impressed with Travis Johansson. I thought the in-season coaching job that he did was really, really impressive. He would have been in my top 5 ballot had he been, able to be voted on for the FCS Coach of the Year. So I thought he was a really good FCS head coach. Surprised he took the Rutgers DC job. I didn't see that coming, and now that's, two new head coaches in 2 years for South Dakota. Matt Bitsum, by all accounts, good coach. Players love him. So a smooth transition, hopefully for USD's sake. They're a good program. They're investing. They made 3 straight quarterfinal appearances. So we'll see if they can keep that trajectory going. But I do think the future is bright for USD. But, when you have 2 new head coaches in 2 years, it kind of rocks their stability a little bit, but I think the Yotes will, if they're able to hold on to their players, I think they'll have a good football team in 26.
Great stuff as always, Bud. We will not keep this segment die. We will keep this going, Bud, because I know there's a lot of people want to know what's going on, everything in FCS. Appreciate the time as always. Be well, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All righty. Sounds good. Thank you.
Sam Herder, join us each and every Monday at 9:30. That segment might look a little different now, obviously, but Sam's a good man. I've known him forever, and he's still plugged into what's going on in the FCS. And I have a feeling, I know for our viewing audience, they're going, and we're on in South Dakota statewide, that people are going to know what's going on with the Jackson USD, that we're not going to turn our backs there. But we've got some new teams to start paying attention to now. San Jose State, New Mexico, UNLV, Hawaii. I just, again, wrapping your mind around that those are the teams now that we got to start paying attention to. Who they're recruiting, who's their head coach, who's their quarterback, all that. It's just fascinating that we're going to be able to discuss this now on this show. Excited about that. All right, we'll break. We'll wrap up first hour. We'll get a few emails going in, and we got a bunch more coming. Kolpack coming up in hour 2. Looking forward to that. Back on a slightly overreaction Monday show after this. Oh, man, there's just some great comments today. Some I can read on the air, some I can't, so I'll just chuckle about that. Here's a couple. This is what I got. It's going to get old going to random bowl games every year and not winning a national championship. Very disappointed in this decision. And if you get to the playoffs, have fun getting blown out in the first round. Again, what's the alternative? You want to go to Frisco for the 83rd time? And again, I point out to you, there's a bowl game in Frisco, Texas, and we don't know what is to come of the bowl landscape, because how many times do we heard that? Oh, the bowl games are going to go away. The bowl games aren't going anywhere if 4 million people are watching them, okay? People watch football. End of story. And yeah, you know what? I would tell you, and I know some James Madison fans, they would take that Oregon game 90 times over rather than going to the FCS championship. Are you kidding me? Stop it. Yeah, would they have liked to have played better? Sure. But you know what? They were in the bleeping game, guys. Come on. Like, what are we doing? Here's the biggest question I've got today, and I wish I had a better answer for everybody. Hey, Dom, what's this mean for WDAY? I don't have an answer for you there. I can tell you that we're not going to have all the games like we have in the past. And selfishly, I will tell you, that's really disappointing. I have loved doing Bison football for the last 5 years. It has been an absolute dream. When I got here and started covering sports, play-by-play has always been my thing. Even though I know some people don't like my play-by-play, that's fine. Anchoring was never my jam, okay? Play-by-play was what I always loved to do. And the opportunity came that I got a chance to do Bison football. Absolute blast. Working with Kyle has been awesome. Our crew is fantastic. Right now, we do not know. We know the Mountain West has a deal with CBS Sports Network, and Fox and the CW. So we will get you all that info as it comes. There may be an opportunity for us to do a couple games. Depends. But it definitely means WDAY doesn't have the games. And I will tell you, I still am a champion of this move. Professionally, it sucks because I love doing the games, and I love interacting with everybody at the games. I'm still going to be getting to the games, just going to be in a different role, likely in 2026 and beyond. So selfishly, yeah, that stinks. But I can tell you, once we get more information on the TV stuff, and we might get that today, I'm going to ask the commissioner as much as she can tell us on that. But that's definitely going to look different for Bison fans. And I know some don't have CBS Sports Network. We've been down that road with the Summit League. I would tell you right now, folks, get ready for Friday night football as well. There's going to be games on Friday. And Fargo, too. It's not all the road games. There's going to be a game at the Dome on a Friday night coming, maybe in the not-too-distant future. Let's get on time here. Jeff Kolpack coming up. We anticipate the league office and NDSU announcing that this is happening coming up in just a couple minutes. Big second hour on an Overreaction Monday. Back after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
All right, give me that breaking news sounder, Eric, even though we know email came into the inbox here from the Office of the President at North Dakota State University. North Dakota State University announced today that it has accepted an invitation to join the Mountain West Conference as an affiliate member for football, competing at the Football Bowl subdivision level beginning this fall. All right, Jeffrey. You've been wanting to cover FBS football for, 10 years now. You're going to cover FBS football, my man, starting this fall.
So I was, a while back, talking to the head coach, and we were just talking about football, whatever. I go, 2002, the last game of the season, the Bison got killed by St. Cloud State. The NDC was injured all year, but they just weren't that good. Finished 2-8. Yeah. There was like 6,000 people at the Fargo-Dome. You could just hear the proverbial pin drop. I'm going, I don't want to do this anymore. I really didn't. I was looking around. Do I want to stay in this business? Because this ain't it. What I'm covering, it wasn't doing it for me. And then Joe Chapman comes along and goes, oh, by the way, here's the new thought.
Yeah.
the university is going to go Division I. I wonder what Joe Chapman's thinking today.
Well, he just got inducted
He
to the Hall
started
of
it.
Fame, absolutely,
Yep.
In October. All right, so let's first start with this. We were just discussing this off air. How many people were in the loop on
Got to be a
this?
tight circle, tight.
So we're talking the outgoing president, obviously Dave Cook was. Assume the interim president, Rick Berg, was. Matt Larson obviously had to have a huge part in this. Polasek,
Derek Lang,
Todd,
maybe?
Todd
Team
Phelps,
makers?
the
Todd
deputy AD, and
After
Langer.
that,
That's probably it, right?
my
on this.
perception and what I understand is it was really tight.
I would
The fewer
imagine-
people that know,
Yeah.
the fewer that leak it out.
But here's the thing. Saturday spoke volumes, and Mike had it worded perfectly in his column. Nobody said anything that spoke so
Right.
much that this is happening when we were at the Shack on Saturday afternoon.
And where the president sits at courtside,
Yep.
they didn't take their seats until right before the game because guess who would be wandering down there?
Yep. Yeah, correct.
You, I, or
Everybody-
Mike, or
we all
yeah.
were. Well, the thing was, Polasek, who's chatty Cathy every time, said about 4 words to
Yeah.
us and left. I'm like,
I know,
oh,
right.
That's.
Is he
something-
feeling okay?
Something is definitely amiss here. All right, so give me let's do football reaction first. What does this mean for North Dakota State football to join in this league?
I know it's pretty new, obviously, with the news, but if I were to judge my inner circle, my friends, the people I know best who follow this program left and right, it is overwhelmingly huge support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a couple of good friends who say, I'm going back.
Yeah.
They stopped going.
Yep.
I'm back. I'm back for sure.
Yeah,
That's their words.
I would think the amount of interest, the amount of emails I got today, there's just rejuvenation here.
Yeah.
And there's the official tweet. So now you know it is. I love that. Officially official. Welcome to Mountain West football, North Dakota State. Holy cow.
Yeah.
It's just a wild, wild deal. So football-wise, I think we've said this for a long time. We've covered this team for a long, long time, that competing against group of 6 schools, NDSU would fit right in. We threw up the graphic earlier in the show. We can bring it up again. What the league is not. We have to acknowledge Boise State is moving on. San Diego State moving on. Colorado State, Utah State. All those schools are
Fresno.
leaving. Fresno with Matt Entz is not going to be there. This is what the league looks like, Jeffrey. I mean, these are New Mexico's coming off a 10-win season. UNLV won 10 games this past year. Hawaii won 9. San Jose State won 3. Nevada won 3. UTEP, you've hammered them forever. They've never been good in football. Northern Illinois had a run for a little bit. Air Force is actually struggling right now. These are schools, in my opinion, and this is going to sound high and mighty, the Bison can frankly compete and beat heading into 2026.
Yeah, as a reporter, I think the main focus today for me is not to overthink this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Bison fans don't really know exactly what's going on.
What? Yep.
What's the caliber of these teams?
Yep.
Will they compete? Will the Bison? These are all questions that Tim Polisek's going to probably get today.
Yes, correct.
Will you change a roster? Which the answer is no. They will not.
Nope.
So there's going to be just the basics. Just get to the basics because we know they'll compete.
Yes.
I think we know.
Yes.
But most people don't.
No, I don't think people know the caliber of teams because they frankly haven't had to pay attention to them, right? Who's paying attention to New Mexico? We know New Mexico because Jason Eck is there, the former South Dakota State offensive coordinator. Can I even say I've sat down and watched a ton of Air Force football? No, I haven't. Or San Jose State football, for that matter. I know they're not very good. I know that.
Well, let's take Idaho, for example.
Okay.
Idaho was in the Mountain West, correct?
They were for a bit.
For an extended period of time.
Yeah.
They come back to the Big Sky, and everybody thought, oh, my God, they're going to dominate.
No. No, it did not work out for them until Jason Eck was there in Idaho.
It's the old thing. The upper tier of FCS is right there right now with most of the group of 6.
The money is the big question I'm getting today. Where is NDSU going to get this money from? I'll present to you.
Privately raised is not coming from the state.
Yes.
That we know.
Well, the fact I'd also point out that there's a, $50+ million indoor facility that was privately raised, that NDSU was able to get that done, that's where they're going to tap into again to get it's not just the $17.5 million. It's going to have to be consistently, their football budget, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's about 3, I want to say.
I got it in my office.
They're going to have to double that easy. to now start competing in the Mountain West Conference.
Correct, but okay, I'll go back to at the game Saturday. They had the ceremonial big check from Teammakers.
Yep,
$6.5 million. When the Bison were Division II, that was always like $600,000 to $700,000. So when they went Division I, and Irv Iniger and Pat Simmers and Gene Taylor and all the fundraisers would point this out, that it just brings a whole different fan base and donor capability into the mix. Now with this FBS, will that bring another new level of donor enthusiasm?
I totally believe that. I think the amount of, and I've met them, you have as well, the amount of big money donors that love Bison football that have been aching for something different, aching for something new. I definitely think their pocketbooks will open up on this. I have no doubt.
I think you hit it just on your last segment that, do you want to keep going to Frisco or Nashville? I mean, after a while, after 10 titles, and
what is there left there?
I go back to my inner circle of my friends. They go, I was tired of going to games and leaving at half.
Yeah. Right, yeah,
I didn't want to do that.
My dad, who has watched the games, because I've done them, he's like, well, maybe they'll actually have some competitive games now. Because, I mean,
there's no question.
I mean, they're winning games 48-7. I mean, yeah, that's definitely going to be different about what's to come on this. The Missouri Valley Football Conference has put out a statement as well. North Dakota State University has been a distinguished and esteemed member of the Missouri Valley for the past 18 seasons, significantly contributing to the conference's unparalleled success. Can I rephrase that? They've been the biggest reason for the conference's unparalleled success. We extend our best wishes to the Bison in their future endeavors and know the Missouri Valley Football Conference will continue to maintain its position as the preeminent FCS conference. That's from Jeff Jackson, the commissioner of the league.
So this show goes down to South Dakota, correct? On a couple of stations down there. So I had to have to ask the Jack fans, do you feel a little jilted because you went together when you went to Division I move?
Yep.
Now NDSU's going solo. Is this something that
I definitely
isn't sitting well
I
with
definitely think there's SDSU that's waking up saying, what are we doing now? That they've been so attached with the Bison that this has got to be jarring for them.
And it just doesn't happen overnight, how Mike appropriately wrote today in his column, that this happened over the course of 3-4 years in David Cook's tenure.
Yep.
Now, we didn't know that. I think we got an idea now.
Yes, I think.
But these negotiations or these talks or whatever you want to call it, it didn't start last week or 2 weeks ago.
No, this is honestly, NDSU has been working with a consulting firm we've found out here as well for the better part of 5 years that actually gauged interest in the American, which I know former head coach Matt Entz,
he wanted that.
That was his desired location because the American is made up of mostly teams in the central time zone, and for whatever feasibility study, that didn't work. The Mountain West did, and now it's
and there's going to be
reality.
downside. There's going to be late Saturday games on the West Coast. That's going to be a downside.
Yep.
But at least it's not Wednesday.
It's not Tuesday. It's not Wednesday football.
I think that's a big deal. I just, to me, as much as we like to watch it because we're football junkies and nerds. I mean, I love Fun Belt and I love Maction.
Yep.
Just because it's a Wednesday night. But I don't know if I'd want to cover it. I don't know if fans would want to go to it. Certainly they don't in Maction.
Nope.
They don't attend.
There's no desire there to go. And we have enough coaches we've known or actually on the Bison staff that have coached in the MAC that say that, nobody goes to those games.
Paul coached in the MAC,
Cody Morgan was at Kent State for the last 2 years and told me flat out those games are not enjoyable, neither for a coach nor obviously for fans to go to in person. I do think, though, we get offshoot scheduling-wise, there's about 8 million tangents you can go on this, Jeffrey, that do the opportunities now for Power 4 opponents suddenly comes into the picture here?
Well, it's got to, right.
There's
Missouri State scheduled USC.
Correct. So now
home and home with SMU.
Is down the road is a possibility. Is University of Minnesota now, because Minnesota's always big thing was we're not going to play them. A, we know that they could beat us. B, they're an FCS team. Well, now take the FCS part out of it now. The Big Ten is always looking for games against Group of 6 schools. Here's one now sitting in Fargo.
He's not going to play the Bison. No way.
Money talks on that, man.
Well,
money talks.
Well, he's making $7.9 million.
He's going to get addendum to his contract here. If not Minnesota, Wisconsin. If not Wisconsin, Nebraska. If not Nebraska, Northwestern. All these schools that I've been pining for years. Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, somebody. A Big Ten school is going to play North Dakota State. I firmly believe that. I do. I will say that here on day one of this transition.
Yeah,
I believe that's
I would
gonna
think
happen.
it'd fit in their scheduling philosophy with you have one Patsy FCS, one Power 4, and then a group of 6.
Correct. That's the formula for and that's another thing we're going to have to dive into is like for the Power 4, how they schedule out. Most of the leagues now have 9 games, right? They have 9 league games, and they have to play another Power 4 team, and they have to play a G6 team and likely an FCS. Okay, so NDSU's now in that G6 conversation where they can maybe play somebody out of the SEC, somebody out of the Big 12. They play TCU. Think about that. Like those are realities
and again,
now.
there's so many avenues we need to go down. So patient readers, we will get to everything.
Exactly.
But I go to the recruiting footprint. Can we put that map back up again?
The conference map? Yeah, Eric, when you can.
Yeah. Put that map up.
Yeah, that's a great point as well because I've had at least 2 or 3 emails
Look at the
about
recruiting area. The nearest group of 6 is Northern Illinois
or Laramie
to the southeast, Laramie to the west.
Yep.
To the south is Missouri State, I think,
Yep.
and Tulsa are about the same distance south. Look at all that recruiting area.
Yep, that are other G6 schools, yes.
And you'll probably be able to out-recruit Air Force for guys in the Colorado area just because, you can say, hey, you're going to come back.
Well, correct. And the level of athlete has to go to the Air Force
take out the
Academy
Power
too.
Fours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. We're not talking Minnesota. We're not talking Iowa. We're not talking Wisconsin. Because I still think head-to-head, Jeffrey, if the Bison are going up against a guy, for Iowa, they're likely not going to win that guy.
No.
But if they're going up against any of these other schools now, they are definitely
They should
have a chance
own
to
Nebraska
win.
for anybody outside of Power 4 recruit.
This is the best thing. I can share this conversation. We'll break, and then I want to get a bunch of emails in. A couple of my neighbors in Moorhead come up to me yesterday when I got home, asked me, hey, do the Bison now have a chance to get the Moorhead guys? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Because it's an FCS school. I don't think they frankly did. Do they have a chance to get Jet Feeney? Yeah, I think they do now. Do they have a chance to get Tay Rich and David Mack? Sure. That goes to what you're talking about. This ultra high competitive 2027 class is now back on the table for NDSU. The Kessel kid, I know Polisek was going to go call him when we got done talking yesterday. Drew Kessel's got Michigan and Minnesota offering him. His brother is playing here now. Why would they go call him and say, hey, we're an FBS school
Just to see if he's, absolutely.
Right? It's fascinating to see how, like you mentioned, the tentacles on this are crazy. Let's break. We got Jeff here for the better part of an hour here, if he loves it or not. We got a bunch of emails. We'll get to them. Much more. It is official. North Dakota State is now a member of the Mountain West Conference in football. That's coming up. More on that when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Jeff Kolpack here in studio. It is official. If you're just joining us, North Dakota State football, now a member of the Mountain West Conference. Press conference coming up at 2 o'clock today up at the Shack. All the pertinents are going to be there. You'll see it live here on Extra. We'll also stream it at Inform.com and WDAY+. You got something? Or I'm just ready to rock and roll here.
On Friday, I'm going, okay, a weekend, I got to cover one game. Saturday, going to be an easy weekend. Super Bowl.
Yeah. Nope. How much of the game did you actually watch? I watched about half a quarter because I was busy, doing 8 million things on this story.
Yeah, I did. I mean,
and the game wasn't all that great either.
If it wasn't for Zabel and Sundell, probably not a whole lot.
All right, here's a topic I got a bunch on and a couple of emails on, and I want to jump off here because this is something you and I have talked about for quite a bit. Dom, what does this mean for the Fargo Dome seating capacity? Another one. What do you think the Mountain West move has on the Fargo Dome situation in terms of not only capacity, but upgrades or even a new stadium in the future? Let's hit on that, Jeffrey, because we've talked about this for quite a bit.
Yes. Well, A, there's not going to be a new stadium. Forget about that.
No, that's not happening.
B, I don't know if this increases the urgency.
So there's been 2 renovation votes that have failed over in 2023 and 2024.
By the way.
We're not close, no.
But as far as the Mountain West, the dome is fine. The capacity is fine. If the Bison were in it this year, although if they would sell out, which now I think they probably will,
there's a heck of a chance of that happening.
They'd be in the middle of the pack for attendance right now. So I don't. It's not like you need to get a new stadium.
Yeah, there's this notion out there that it's got to be 30,000 out there.
You don't need the big house.
That is not correct.
You don't need Nebraska. No.
The dome is fine on that. Now, the dome needs TLC. This goes beyond you and I talking about a Fargo Dome press box bathroom. That is silly. We're talking about what actually was proposed by Dave Supas last year and all those guys that were trying to make this happen. That needs to happen for this building, regardless of anything else. They need that.
Convention Center, where is it going?
Yeah.
The Dome.
Yep.
I mean, make it an event up there. Make it a facility. Just so many options.
I mean, we've talked about this for another one we've beaten to death, like FBS football, is the Dome needs some TLC, whether it's the concourse needs to be expanded.
The seats, which they have started on.
The seats have to change, all of that. Maybe this is the Dome is owned by the city. NDSU has nothing to do with it. This is a city thing that they've got to get going. But you'd hope maybe get the wheels started on that. That's because you hit this on the head and you're dead right. Where's the mayor on this? I mean, the mayor's at every game. So he's right behind me at the shack. Like, where's the leadership on that to make this? And maybe that's for the new mayor in Fargo to make that happen. I understand you can't, but for whoever was going to be the new mayor, that'd be something to come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Let's keep going here. Email in from our friend David Minot. Just think of some of these games. Home games that need to be scheduled and attend. Air Force, James Madison, Wyoming, Sam Houston, Coastal, Georgia Southern. Road games, Gophers, Iowa, Iowa State, Nebraska, Kansas State, all teams listed as home games. I'll make a trip to the Air Force Academy and Vegas.
Here's my question. Who's the new rival?
I've had that thrown out there, too.
Northern Illinois?
Northern Illinois, maybe for proximity because of where they're at. Wyoming makes a ton of sense because the head football coach there, and Craig Bowl obviously was there. Frankly, I would love it if it's Vegas because UNLV, Dan Mullen there, who was a former Florida coach, is the UNLV coach. They're good. That seems like it'd be a destination spot. I mean, proximity dictated rivalry in the Missouri Valley Football Conference because South Dakota State, but they weren't the rival to start. You well know this. It was Northern Iowa to start.
Oh, when they started Dakota Marker, we all just sort of chuckled like,
correct.
Contrived.
It was not the Jackrabbits on that. Jeffrey, will NDSU have to recruit a different quality of players or acquire better players in the portal?
Well, maybe some faster guys maybe on the outside, I suppose.
I agree with that.
You get FBS naturally, you get maybe more speed.
Yeah, I think on the outside,
generally no.
Defensive back, wide receiver, that's going to be something.
Generally no. They'll stick with their footprint.
Well, I mean, look at what they've done up front. They just had two guys win a Super Bowl that were both offensive linemen here.
How many guys in the NFL in either practice, was it 16 this year?
I think 19, 19? I believe. They had 19. Yeah, and not counting the amount of former coaches that were here as well.
So, no, you don't have to recruit a different player.
Dom, why can't NDSU, SDSU just continue as is if it's good for both programs? Make it so both teams travel so NDSU can avoid the big fee to schedule SDSU. If NDSU loses to SDSU, the Bison aren't likely to do a whole lot anyways. It'll be good for SDSU. That's not going to happen.
Nope, that's done.
It's on the back burner for a while.
I think they'll retain one FCS non-conference.
Yes. And it's not going to be the Jackrabbits.
Nope.
And it's not going to be UND.
Nope.
And I mean, talking about, that's something you're just going to have to get used to.
Probably Tennessee State. I mean, it goes with the philosophy.
Yes.
You're going to schedule one FCS school every year.
Yep, totally.
I mean, the SEC does.
Right.
So.
Dom, what about non-conference games? You said they need 4. Can they play an FCS, or does it have to be FBS only? We'll miss some regional opponents that were rivalries we're used to. Yes, it is soon. No UND, SDSU, USD. Wow. They're going to have to schedule at least 3 non-conference games. They're hopeful maybe the East Tennessee State game can stay on, but they're going to need to find 3 opponents now for this upcoming fall, which, again, how do you do that? Everybody's schedule in college football is locked in.
There's a few out there, though. You put them out there.
USC's got an availability.
Army? Doesn't Army have?
Army's got one. Ohio?
Alabama, Birmingham, I believe, or something like that.
UAB's got one. There's one other one I'm forgetting off the top of my head.
How about Missouri State? Get back to that.
Could do that. But, again, all those ones we just mentioned, Georgia Southern, App State, JMU, they can come here. People like those games. They can happen again now, or they can go there. That's the fun part about this, right? Exactly. It doesn't necessarily have to be the big ones. Jeff, did Northern Illinois have to pay as much, $12.5 million, as NDSU? No. I saw on the interweb they only paid $2 million to join the Mountain West, but I never trust the cesspool of X. Thanks for the email. That is correct. Northern Illinois did pay less, and actually the Mountain West paid the freight for NIU to leave the MAC, the exit fee to leave the MAC to join the Mountain West. I think timing on that had a lot to do with it, Jeff. NDSU is the urgency. That's why the rate was as high as it was, and that's something, frankly, I'll ask the commissioner about.
Yeah, higher to start. We don't know.
Right. I think that's probably. I'll ask on that as well. That's another question that we need answered. It's important to note, because I had this asked as well, there is no exit fee to leave the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So NDSU doesn't have to pay anything to leave the Missouri Valley behind, which is different than Northern Illinois. I can't remember. The MAC hit NIU with a pretty good exit fee because they're a charter member of that conference that they are getting out of there. Let's do a couple more. Congrats to NDSU for moving up to FBS in the Mountain West. Yes, money is the topic of conversation. Curious about what it costs to move to the SEC or the Pac-12. Excited for the future of Bison football. I'm an alum of the University of Wyoming. Go Cowboys. So, yeah, there you go. That is a
Cowboy up.
Just think of Wyoming coming here. You know what I mean? Like that alone. How does that sit in your mind on that? You know?
I think Air Force is going to be fascinating.
Oh, man. That'd be, right? If people got over the moon with the Bison going to the Citadel, how cool that was. Imagine going to Colorado Springs for a game out there, or to your point, them coming to the Fargo Dome. Yeah, that's
is
really
Jason Eck at New Mexico going to get back on the Twitter? How should I say this?
Wasn't motivated enough was the line.
The snarky tweets.
Oh, he's a beaut. I love that. I love the guy. Okay, it was $2.5 million is what Eric tells me to leave from the MAC. With all
so
the
it cost them almost $5 million
to get out.
Yeah.
With all the uncertainty with the P5 and G6 schools and what may happen with some sort of realignment, I hope that NDSU and its donors haven't been fleeced out of millions by the Mountain West Conference. I mean, NAU only paid $2 million. And that's, we've been talking about this for how long, Jeff, that the Power Four is going to go break and do their own thing. Well, you know what? They haven't. And frankly, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't know, because you got the NCAA basketball tournament too.
They're not messing with that. We know that.
Yeah,
they're not messing with the basketball.
It's just not a football decision for the Power Four to break away.
Yeah, I don't see that. How have we been talking about for how long? Because even if they do, NDSU is now they're in the club, they're in the party, so that if there is a second tier of football,
you're there.
That's what they always wanted to clamor to be at. They didn't want to be at that FCS level and get shut out. Now, I mean, I always wanted to be in the club, Jeff, when I was in high school. The Bison are. They're in the party now.
And for the others, if it happens to come to, if the Montanas or South Dakota State or whoever in moving up, the price it isn't going down.
No, it's going the other way on that. There's no doubt. I wanted to get one more in here. I can't find. Maybe I'll have to do this after the break. Oh, here we go. Because this is a really well-crafted email out of Sioux Falls. Dom, allow me to share a different opinion on this move. This will impact thousands of fans across the region who will not be able to watch them, as many don't or can't get CBS Sports Network, especially when they'll have to pay for it. They relied on the local efforts of WDAY. Speaking of WDAY, they will lose hundreds of thousands of dollars by this move and losing broadcast rights and affiliated advertising. I can't imagine the C-suite is happy about that. Same for the Fargo Dome. No more December home playoff games. I wonder if they even broke even last year if they had 2 more games. There's nothing to get excited about playing UTEP, San Jose State, and so on. There aren't any teams in the Mountain West Conference that'll fill up the dome, especially with the higher ticket prices yet to come. I totally disagree with the last part. If anything, that the reaction you've got, I've got, Mike's got, is that the dome will be filled for these teams. I completely disagree with that.
I do too, yep.
As far as the WDAY part of it, yep, that's total. And I said it earlier. It is... It's a huge blow to us. We love doing the games, and that in the foreseeable future likely is not going to happen.
But we have, the pregame show.
That is still going to happen.
Yep.
Postgame show is a thing as well. That's not going anywhere either. Those two entities will certainly continue on. I would say, is there an outside chance we get a couple games? Maybe. I can't sit here and say I know with 100% certainty. But yeah, that's the part of it. I also think the amount of interest level in this team is only going to skyrocket now, that whatever we may have lost in terms of ad revenue, you can come to Hot Mike. I'll certainly take it here. But the fact the interest level of this team will be, businesses have not advertised with Bison football because they know the games are boring. The games aren't interesting.
But I would say this,
now.
yes, attendance has been down in recent years. But our numbers, our analytics, the interest in people who read our stuff.
I'm looking at it right now. It's crazy right now.
That's really never wavered. In fact, I would argue it's gone up.
Yes.
Judging by, not that people subscribe to our e-edition, but that's gone up.
I can
it's got nothing but up.
I'm looking at our analytics right now for the amount of people that are streaming the show. People are interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
The last part, and I will speak to this on the CBSSN, I've hammered that with the Summit League. It is not readily available. That is something that's going to have to be addressed by NDSU to make people know where the games are. I think that they have certainly fallen into a black hole in basketball. Now, the difference with football, Jeff, it's one time a week. People can find it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not like basketball where they have these random games on in the middle of on a Wednesday or a Saturday at 5 o'clock. It's either a Friday or a Saturday.
And also, when you can't overstate this, people, the other sports aren't going anywhere.
Correct.
The Summit League is staying.
Correct.
It's a Big 12 for wrestling. Those things, UND, South Dakota State, they're still going to be...
They'll be there. Yep, for those sports.
There's still going to be stuff.
But I appreciate that email, especially from our viewers down in Sioux Falls. Let's break. We got more with Jeff coming up. We'll get more emails and some more thoughts on this. Again, press conference, 2 o'clock today. NDSU, Mountain West Conference in football. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a rather brisk show.
Climb the mountain.
Yeah,
Dom.
so NDSU has put out its official statement about the move. They've also, as Jeff mentioned, starting another fundraising campaign branded as Climb the Mountain for donations to start coming in there. I'm just clicking on it right now, and that's the that's the website to donate to hop on board. And that's what's going to be driven on this, to fund this, to get it. And NDSU is going to want to do it at a spot where it's not just barely supporting. And we've seen that in other FBS schools that, they have football because they have to have football, and it's not funded properly.
So I woke up like at 2 a.m. this morning. Like, none of us ever sleep, right? And I go, could that really happen?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yep. There's a bunch more here. I want to get a few more topics in. This is, as a SDSU alum and fan, I can say they absolutely made the correct move. I'm just bummed South Dakota State wasn't able to do the same. Started school in 2003, so I never thought of USD as our chief rival. It's always been NDSU, so I'm going to miss the border game.
I never got the sense that South Dakota State was really too aggressive into this.
I had Justin Sell several times, whether it was a Summit League tournament or when we did the show in Brookings, and I asked him every time about FBS football. All he would say to me is, we want to be tied to NDSU. That was the strongest he ever came out. And obviously they are not tied together. Frankly, I think he's going to have some hard conversations with some large donors down there. Like, so our chief rival is no longer here? They can say all they want about South Dakota. It's not. And that email's right on. It's not USD. It's NDSU.
The crowd for the Bison Jacks game this year down at Dana Dyke House, it was amazing.
It was a sellout crowd down there. Best wishes to NDSU. This is from a Youngstown fan. Your success at the FCS warrants this move. The big question remains, will NDSU see the same success as James Madison or fizzle out like Marshall did after their 1AA run? Will the fans prefer mid-tier bowls versus FCS title games?
Well,
I've already answered that last part.
Yeah, and in our conversations and our senses, and it goes back to the Division I move, when you make the move, you don't go in there on the cheap.
No,
you don't. You're not spending the minimum amount of money. You need to go above and beyond. So it's a total financial decision.
Yep.
It's a fundraising decision, and so like when they made the move to Division I, Craig Bowl said, some schools went like Davis, or whatever, went like 4, 6, 10 more scholarships. Yep. Craig Bowl said, no. 63 right now.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what's going to be needed.
They're going to be 85.
Correct.
Or you could go to 105.
But
I think you don't need more than 85 on a roster.
Correct.
Just because the 100th player probably doesn't need to be on a full ride.
So the equivalency question has been brought up to me about what they do on the women's side. And this is a question we have to ask today about, does that mean they eliminate a men's sport? Do they add a women's sport? Because if they're adding scholarships on the men's side, Title IX requirements is you have to do that equally on the women's side.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who covered the Title IX lawsuit in the 1990s at NDSU, it's There's people there who were part of that.
I cannot see Matt Larson eliminating a men's sport.
No, I don't think so. Wrestling is way too ingrained. Yes. Baseball, I don't see that happening.
I cannot see that. So
do you add women's flag football?
Women's flag football just was sanctioned by the NCAA. I can see that as a rising sport. Women's wrestling I mean, there's opportunity out there. That's definitely on the list of. This press conference would go a little bit if I try to get all the questions.
Thank God the new iPhones have good batteries. Be plugging it in all day.
Jeff and Dom, I've been telling people that the portal was going to kill the dynasty, but with this move, the opposite will happen. Not only do they have a better chance of keeping their good players, but they will definitely attract transfers. What do you make of that? I agree. I agree on the first part. I think does Nathaniel Staling leave? Does Trent Fraley leave if NDSU is an FBS team?
That's a good question. I think Staling still does because he's here 4 years, and Michigan, you're in the big house, probably. And plus, and somebody brought this up, a friend of mine, does NDSU have to up their NIL game, or how will they do that?
Both. Yes. The answer is yes to both of those.
So you talk about the Moorhead kids. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that happens unless your NIL game gets something.
Location, though.
True.
I'll counteract on that.
And where do you have a better chance of playing?
Correct. And also North Dakota State's quarterback lineage. All right. And also, Jet Feeney's dad is a former Bison. That might work in their favor now, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the Big Ten, and I want to be perfectly clear on this because I'm going to have this clip. If it's a Big Ten school against NDSU, I'm not saying the Bison are going to win that. No, I'm not saying that. I would be crazy. Tip your hat if you're going to go play at Minnesota or Iowa or Illinois. But I'm just saying for some other battles that have a different tie, like the Feeneys do, there's an opportunity
and don't forget, they have out-recruited FBS.
Yes. They've out-recruited these schools. Northern Illinois, we know that for a fact. And Wyoming, that they've beaten those schools.
Routinely.
Head-to-head on that. They're in for a rude awakening. Good luck in Laramie. Yeah. Here's another one, Jeff. This is good. 9,000 empty seats at NDSU's 2025 playoff loss.
Yeah.
Time for something new. And that's, I mean, we've talked about that. I mean, I don't know if it was glossed over considering how stunning the playoff defeat was to Illinois State. There was 9,000 empty seats in the Dome for a playoff game.
And they're making this move with significant more momentum despite that loss than they did in the Division I coming off a 2-8 season in 2002. Big difference.
Correct. It was 2-8. Right?
It's 2-8.
I had a donor and season ticket holder tell me yesterday they could probably add 5,000 seats with some renovations. This is to the Dome conversation.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you think they could happen and the school have to step up the tailgating aspect as well? Well, that was part of the renovation plan as well. If people forget, I strongly encourage you to go back and look at the renovation.
That facility addition to the west side.
I mean, I live in Moorhead, so I couldn't vote. But I was totally over the moon of looking at that. And I told Rod Sobolik that. I told Dave Supis that both when they came on the show. Like, it would have been a landslide on that. Totally.
I won an award for that column.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
When did we get so old, Fargo?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my God. Let's go.
Dom and Jeff, look at what's happening on the Fargo City Commission. This move is coming at a terrible time. They've been mismanaging the finances for so long. They're now cutting and looking at ways to stop offering tax incentives, much less increased spending. This is going to need to be totally self-funded for NDSU.
I can't talk about the mayor.
Yeah, going back to the Dome conversation on that. Dom, they should put up the same exact Fargo Dome upgrades as in last year's vote. I think it passes if they vote again. I don't know about that. I mean, the vote in November of 24,
it was
Jeff,
pretty.
They didn't even get 50%.
No.
Man, they got
something.
boat raced on that.
It wasn't near the 60.
No. Again, I'll go back. The Dome needs some TLC, but the Dome as a structure is fine. It's not too small. It's going to be A-okay for what they need.
Hey, Fargo citizens, you're going to have to pay for it somehow. You're not going to let your number one asset go into ruin. It's going to
it saved the city.
Yeah, make people from out of town help pay for it. That's what it was. That's what a sales tax is. It was a quarter.
Okay, I think we read that one. Oh, there's a few more. Let's go a few more here. Great move. Excited to see how the recruiting landscape and schedule evolve from here. As the only G6 program in the upper Midwest, we're positioned with a unique advantage. Goes back to what you talked about earlier on there. We have a family fan base that is UND, NDSU divided. We've enjoyed years of tailgating the game, enjoying the game, and then spending the evening with family. As a fan, I look forward to that weekend to host all my family to tailgate. That will be missed. And that's part of this. But we've been down this road. NDSU and UND didn't play for 12 years, Jeff, after the Bison made the move to Division I, and UND stayed. And it's probably going to be on a hiatus for at least that long. I have a better chance of seeing the Bison play the Jackrabbits than I see them playing UND again in football.
Probably.
I mean, I don't see that Great move for NDSU in positioning themselves for the future of the ever-changing FBS landscape. P4 and G6 will eventually be separating. Just like the D2 to FCS move, NDSU leads the way.
Yeah, again, I've been hearing you like the separation. Yeah. I just don't see it having legs. Not with the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, well, right now they're contractually obligated to take the top G6 team. And again, I posed this to you in 2028. If NDSU has a season like James Madison just did, they are in that tournament. So then you could play Alabama. You could play, give me somebody, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State. Are those okay? Or no, would you rather play Murray and Indiana State again? I mean, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I understand it, but people weren't going to the playoff games to begin with.
Nope. That ship has sailed. Man. That ship has sailed.
Here's a couple more here, and then we'll get out of here because Jeff's got plenty of work to do. Finally, was resistant at first, but it's long overdue. 2, I'm fine with a small fish in a big pond, including no-name bull over Frisco. There's a revelation. That's the first I've heard of that. 3, hope the fee is at our new conference raking us over the coals. 4, positions us much better for the future. That is a well-crafted email. That might be my favorite email of the day.
And I think the powers that be at NDSU obviously have a high degree of confidence that they can raise this money. I would guess that these conversations have already been had.
Yeah, correct.
With the people who are friends of the university.
I would imagine we might see some friends of the university at the press conference today that are going to be there in attendance, that these people have been asked, and they are not for 5-figure donations.
What's McFeely contributing to this? He was a guy that started it all.
He was the man who wrote about the moonshot. I remember we did the show that next day.
Can we finally give him the props? Because he was against the D1 move to start, but he redeemed himself.
Oh, he could totally slam dunk this one till the cows come home, and I'm sure he will.
Well, I can't wait for tomorrow.
On the show
it's gonna be
tomorrow. Hey, here's one last one for you. With this FBS jump due to Polisic's salary, what will it do to it? Or was that settled in its extension?
I think this was part
of that. Yes. Why the deal was not signed, because you and I have been working on that.
Because they didn't want to do it twice, I would guess.
Correctamundo. So that was why, because I had Matt Larson on here and Tim within the last month and asked him about it, and they said, we're still working out some stuff.
We're working out some stuff.
Well, what do you wonder? I wonder what it was.
Working out this FBS stuff, I guess it turned out to be.
Great stuff this weekend. We will see you later today up at the Shack, all right?
All right.
Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday. Now a FBS reporter.
Yeah, what about my dad thought of that?
Change the resume. Wow. We'll come back and wrap up Hot Mike. Get you ready for what's going to be a crazy Monday in our part of the world. We're back after this. All right. Anything happen on today's show? Tomorrow, much more on this. We'll have Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Navarez on the show. Get her thoughts, perspective on adding North Dakota State as a member for football only beginning this fall. That's coming up on the show tomorrow. Our guy McFeely will be here. I'm sure that will be a well-viewed segment. So looking forward to our program tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, for the next 6 months, just buckle up. This show is, I think, been our great conduit for not only Bison football, I think all of FCS football. We're going to keep that up, certainly on the Bison side of things. And now for Mountain West football, this is the place to be. We're not ignoring everything else, but again, I'll go back to what I said off the top. You give me a bigger sports story in the last 20 years, and I'll fight you on that. And I've covered them all. This is about as big as I've seen. I don't know, since NDSU went to Division I. Frankly, this is as big a move as we've had. Again, press conference is coming up at 2:00 today. NDSU Matt Larson, athletic director Matt Larson will be there. Head coach Tim Polisek will have all the reaction on our newscast tonight. Make sure you join us coming up here at 11, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. I don't know if I'm eating today, but nobody really cares about that. But it's going to be one of those kind of days. Dom, watch your show this morning. You're 100% correct on all your points. That's a rarity. I remember all the naysayers when NDSU moved up to Division II. That was great. This is better. I'll attend games again. Finally, some good competition. Thanks. I got this also, this photo in from a friend of mine. His name's Joel. And the caption was, for all those to say stay in FCS, this was the Fargo Dome at the last playoff game. It's over. And he's dead right about it. That was a playoff game in December, folks. It's on to a new venture there. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. Been a different formatted show. We'll try and get back to our normal scheduling tomorrow. Timberwolves they stink right now. They lost to the Clippers yesterday. 7 o'clock tonight on FanDuel Sports North. USA women's hockey team plays its third game at the Olympics against Switzerland coming up at about 1:45. Biggie in college hoops tonight with Arizona and Kansas. Our thanks to Sam Herder and Jeff Kolpack. Again, a reminder, NDSU Mountain West Press Conference today at 2 here on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com, and WDAY Plus. Much more reaction throughout the day on our newscasts, 5, 6, and 10. Thanks so much for emails, everybody, and for watching. Big show today. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.